Hello, Duke fans, and welcome back to York Sports Network. Today, we're in a bit of an interesting place. You probably don't recognize where we're at, and neither do we. We are in St. Louis, Missouri for the JEA and other letters for an acronym I don't know, but that is what it is. It's a fun time out here in St. Louis. We want to thank Mr. Chambers, Mr. Burke, and Ms. Frost for the opportunity. Anyways, we'll get to what you guys want to hear, and that's we're streaming.
We are streaming. We are so grateful for the opportunity. Thank you to Dr. Bagdasarian, Mr. Wagner, for paying an unidentified amount of money to the NHS to allow us the ability to stream home games. So we will be streaming York versus Palatine, the IHSA Class 8 semifinal, or quarterfinal. Almost got caught lacking. Quarterfinal, and we could not be more excited.
Yeah, we're really hyped over here. Emotions are through the roof. We're waking up quite early on Saturday to bring this to you guys, and we're really excited to be able to. We know we've heard a lot from you guys that you guys would rather not pay $15 a month to watch high school football on a RoboCam. That doesn't work, but we're not going to talk about NFHS here. We're going to talk about our stream. So tune in. This YouTube channel, we'll post the link on our social media, so watch out for that. So our YouTube channel here, roughly 1 p.m. whenever the game starts. That's going to be, as Gavin said, between York Dukes and the Palatine Pirates. That big game, as Palatine is currently 10-1 with their only loss coming at Glenbrook South. And then York, obviously undefeated, having the season of the history of York High School.
Yeah, so as we've talked about a lot, York undefeated still. They're beating Marist. Another huge top 10 battle. That is now 2 top 10 wins for the Dukes. First one on the road. And what was probably the most thrilling high school game I have seen. York always seems to be playing in these big, close games this year, it seems. Took 2 overtimes for the Dukes to win this one, 27-21. Just to recap, Kelly Watson had a touchdown. Luke Maylander opened the scoring with a receiving touchdown as well. And then in a second overtime, Marist pulled out a fake field goal, and got stopped at the goal line by number 4, Evan Grazzini. And then the following play, Matt Veza, in what was a very windy day where he had to take a lot of carries and a lot of designed runs, took one to the house from 10 yards out and won the game for the Dukes. So the undefeated streak continues, and their next opponent will be back at York. Will be the Palatine Pirates, a team that was 10-1, 5-0 in conference. They won the Mid-Suburban West Conference. Not a very difficult conference, but anytime you can win, you're doing all you can. Some quality wins for them was they beat St. Charles North at home by 12. St. Charles North is a very good team. Then they beat Downers Grove South, who is in the West Suburban Gold Conference. They beat them by 8 in the playoffs, also at home. Another pretty big win. And then they lost to Glenbard South. I guess it's not a quality win, but it was a quality performance, to say the least. They lost at Glenbard South. Glenbard South, a very tough place to play, 43-42. So they were in that game up until the very, very end. So another very good performance against a good team. So Palatine, they definitely have the talent, and while they don't have the complete resume, you see snippets that the talent is there and they can hang in these big games. And any team that is making the quarterfinals, is a good team.
Definitely, and to piggyback on what you were saying about this team being very good, they're also a very interesting team in the way that they win games. As we said, they're 10-1, 6-0 home, 4-1 away, but their difference in away play is much different than their difference in home play, despite playing tougher talent. In their home games, they played St. Charles North, New Trier, Friend, Barrington, Hoffman Estates, Downers Grove South, but that was in the playoffs. And that's a 6-0 record with a 32.3 points per game, and then 13.2 opponent points per game, which means on average they're winning the game by about 19 points. While away, 4-1, obviously that 1 point loss at Glenbrook South, as you were saying, but 44.4 points per game on the road. Absolutely incredible. And then their defense, 16 opponent points per game. It's really impressive what they've done. And then versus playoff opponents, so teams that have made the playoffs, 5-1, 36.3 points per game, and 18.5 points per game. Even though this team isn't necessarily a statewide powerhouse like a Loyola or a Maine South or even a Marist last week, they're still a good team, and they really got a great team this year. And who are some of their more talented players, would you say, on either side of the ball?
So yeah, like we said, a lot of underclassmen, ironically, for Palatine. Their offense, led by the speedster running back Dominic Ball. He is not. He's a junior. He does not have any like star ranking. Does not have any offers yet. But this kid was an All-American track star as a sophomore in 4 events: the 100-meter dash, 200-meter dash, 400-meter dash, and the long jump. So if that doesn't scream athleticism, I don't know what does. And like I said, he is only a junior, but just looking through his tape on Huddle, this kid is legit. He just has that elite breakaway speed that you just will not see anywhere else at the high school football level. He's going to be a pain for the Duke's defenders. Obviously, we know that they can handle a guy like him, but if there's an odd play where if he breaks a tackle, he could be gone, and it could be a quick 6 with the ball in Dominic Ball's hands. On the other side, there is defensive end Jalen Williams, who is questionable to play in this quarterfinal matchup, but this is a 4-star defensive end sophomore who already has offers from Minnesota and Iowa. Sophomore, 6'6", 280 pounds. I don't think I need to say anymore. Granted, last week, York saw their fair share of size on the offensive and defensive line last week against Marist, but still, another freak athlete and just insanely large human being for a high school student. Again, questionable to play, but if he does play, he will be a force.
And no matter what, this Palatine defense is really going to be good. This is why he stood out on Palatine's defenses in particular, because talking to our sources, Palatine's defense isn't necessarily the largest out there. They're not going to beat you with size, but they will beat you with speed. And as you said, Dominic Ball is a representation of what their defense is. Not the biggest guy in the field, but they are very fast, which means they're great in coverage. They love to run a lot of cover 4s because their DBs are really good. They run a couple of they run 2 safeties up top, and then they run 2 cornerbacks. The rest, obviously, front 7 as any typical offense. And it's really been working this year. They've been a dominant defense all year. The only real slip-up has been that Glenbrook South game with 42 points allowed. Every other game has been under 2 touchdowns allowed, also except Downers Grove South, which was 23 points. But that was when Downers Grove South was playing for their lives, so obviously they're going to turn it up a notch there. So this defense is extremely talented, but I think we may have found their weakness, and that's going to be their special teams unit. For 6 of their 11 games, which is the majority, there was a PAT, point after attempt, missed or blocked. Now, those can be huge momentum swings. As everyone knows, football is a game of inches, right? And losing entire points in the majority of the games that you're playing that year, it's a big deal. You look at the Glenbrook South game. Do I know exactly what games these missed PATs or blocked PATs came from? No. But they lost by 1 to Glenbrook South, so if it happened in that game, it's a huge, huge loss because there's just a huge difference between being undefeated morally and there is being 1 loss. And with a resume like that, you would have been seeded higher, so you wouldn't have to play York in the 3rd round of the quarter and being the quarterfinals. But this team, this team is really good. They have a lot of speed on the defensive end. And their special teams is questionable at best, which could especially be for Coach Egan, who's the special teams coach, a way for him and his guys to really affect the game and put their imprint on the game and put the Dukes up top going into the next round, which would be against either Loyola or our friend from down Route 83, Lyons Township. They are extremely hot right now. They're rolling, I want to say, a 6-game win streak, I think.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think
I think
so.
they've won every game since we
They
played
played
them.
DGN.
But they beat
DGN.
they beat DGN.
Did they beat DGN?
They beat DGN.
You're sure?
Yeah, because they lost to Glenbard West. Not the week we played them, but the week after when we played Hinsdale Central. So it would have been week 7, 8, 9, round 1, round 2. Oh, 5 game. 5 game. Would have been 5 game. 5 game winning streak. Anyways, back to the point at hand. Lyons Township is going out to Wilmette to go play Loyola Academy. Very good team that they're going to be playing. The winner of that bracket will play the winner of York versus Palatine, which obviously, as York students and watching as a York fan, you are probably hoping happens. Now, how do the Dukes use their talent on their defense and their offensive explosion to be able, or explosiveness, to be able to take advantage of Palatine on Saturday?
So again, like we've said, this entire 3 weeks that we've been doing this, they win by depth, and that's what we saw last week at Marist. Is that you can't just throw one. Marist had a lot of very. They had a wide receiver committed to Iowa. They had a wide receiver committed to Miami of Ohio. And, they knew that, and so they knew that they couldn't just stick one defensive back or one linebacker on them in coverage. A couple of times that happened because Marist is good. They paid the price, but a lot of times Sutter had a very good game. Sutter probably had his best game of the season against Marist.
Definitely.
But they used Sutter so much to just read the quarterback's eyes and just be in the right spot at the right time, make the quarterback think twice about throwing it, because Sutter's closing speed was incredible, and that just made the quarterback think too much. And then the defensive lineman Ashton Naraki, who also had by far his best game of the season, was able to get penetration to get a sack or a tackle for loss. I know the quarterback of Marist scrambled for a lot of yards, but having just that safety presence to shade, to cause a double team anywhere on the field, basically. Just buying that extra time for the defensive line. That was so huge against Marist, and I imagine that's what the Dukes will do quite a bit against Palatine to kind of stack up against this another star-heavy team.
Yeah, definitely. And, as you were saying about depth, especially comes to playing the linebacker room. And shout out to number 4, the man himself, with the neck brace, throwing it back to the 1980s, Evan Grazzini. What a wonderful game he had on Saturday at Marist in Oak Lawn, Chicago. And that's because he won Friday Night Drives MVP of the week. I think he had 20-something tackles, 13-plus tackles for loss, and obviously the game-saving tackle there on the fake field goal attempt by Marist. And that's not the only Friday Night Drive MVP of the week that the Dukes have in the linebacker room. Cole Ossendorf won it either week 2 or 3, I think, around then. Or he was on the team of the week, one or the other. But he's been great all year. So as you were saying, this linebacker room, extreme depth, and as you were saying, that's what Matt Sutter does, is he's able to allow those linebackers to be able to eat and drive without having to worry about on the back end. They don't have to worry about, if they don't get there fast enough, that a giant play is going to go off for 40 or 50 yards because Sutter's got them covered from the back. So that's a great job by him, great job by the entire Dukes defense. We're really looking forward to this matchup. So please join us, 1 o'clock here, York Sports Network, like we said. We will see you then, Duke fans. Remember,